It happened on a bright Saturday afternoon. Riverside Galleria was the kind of mall that smelled like luxury and whispered money-polished marble floors, security guards with earpieces, and boutique stores where the glass cases held more than most cars. Inside Verley Jewelry, under soft lighting and slow jazz. A black woman stood quietly in front of a glass display. Her blouse was neatly tucked in, no bag, no sudden movements. She pointed at a sapphire bracelet, smiled at the clerk, and leaned in to read the tag. Outside the store, Officer Brandon Keltner noticed her. He wasn't called in. He wasn't chasing a suspect. He just saw her and decided she didn't fit. His radio clicked. Possible casing. Verley Jewelry. Black female. 30s. White blouse. He didn't say what she was doing, just who she was. Seconds later, he stepped inside. He moved fast like something was about to go down. The clerk's smile vanished. The woman turned her head just as the officer's hand dropped to his holster. "Step back," he barked. "Hands where I can see them." The store froze. She blinked. "Excuse me," I said. "Step back. Now." And before anyone could process what was happening, he pulled out his weapon and pointed it directly at her chest inside a luxury store, in the middle of a peaceful afternoon, in front of cameras, staff, and stunned customers. She didn't flinch. No yelling, no panic, just one slow breath and eyes locked on his. Brandon thought he was in control. He had no idea. The woman he was threatening wasn't a thief, wasn't casing the store, wasn't a nobody. She was an undercover FBI agent. And this entire moment, every word, every second, had just been captured on hidden surveillance, because the woman he thought was powerless had come here to expose men exactly like him. And now, he had just handed her everything she needed. Maya Rhodes didn't look like someone who had once stood in front of a Senate subcommittee and quoted federal law word for word. She didn't wear the weight of her education or the scars of her past. That was part of the cover quiet. Polished. Forgettable. But behind the reserved smile and calm voice was someone who'd built her career on never being caught off guard. Maya wasn't just trained to blend in. She was trained to outlast, outlisten, and outthink. Her decision to leave law and join the FBI wasn't impulsive. It was survival. After her sister's wrongful stop, humiliated in front of neighbors, handcuffed without explanation, Maya spent months filing complaints, writing op-eds, calling every contact she had in government. None of it mattered. No action was taken. No body cam footage. Just silence and an unspoken warning. This is how the system protects itself. That silence turned something in Maya. She stopped trying to change it from the outside. She stepped inside. When the Bureau approached her for Operation Glasslight, she didn't hesitate. The case involved a string of complaints in a commercial zone just outside a growing city, claims of profiling, intimidation, and force used against black and brown civilians for minor or imagined offenses. Reports were filed, then buried. Security footage went missing. Internal reviews found no violations, but the numbers didn't lie, and neither did the patterns. The goal was simple: embed an agent. Observe without exposure. Document everything. Maya was perfect for it. For the past 8 weeks, she had been moving quietly through the mall under the name Lena Porter. She rented a modest apartment, worked remotely on a laptop that didn't exist on any public network, and made daily passes through the shopping district. She never visited the same store 2 days in a row. She never drew attention. She studied faces, voices, timing. She noted where officers stood, who they shadowed, who they ignored, and who they stopped. She didn't need to provoke them. They wrote the story themselves. Officer Brandon Keltner was a constant in that story. His file was thin, too thin. 12 citizen complaints, all marked unfounded. No disciplinary action. High commendation for community service, yet no trace of mentorship or outreach. Maya learned quickly that Brandon's authority came not from the law, but from perception. He moved with the confidence of someone who knew every camera blind spot, someone who had friends in the review board and years of invisible armor stitched into his badge. He had what law enforcement calls strong situational instinct. In reality, it meant he followed people based on his gut, and his gut didn't trust people who looked like Maya. She watched him trail black teenagers near the movie theater, linger around Latina moms in the food court, and lean into Korean store owners just long enough to make his presence felt. He never raised his voice, never used slurs, but the message was clear. You're being watched. What struck Maya wasn't just what he did, but what others didn't do. No fellow officer questioned him. No mall manager filed concern. The silence was loud, and it was exactly what Operation Glasslight needed to expose. To gather evidence, Maya used a custom recording system hidden in everyday items: earrings, her phone case, a belt buckle that doubled as a camera lens. She'd perfected her tone polite, non-confrontational, but never submissive. She gave them just enough space to show themselves. She logged every interaction, time-stamped every incident, and used a secure FBI portal to upload footage in real time. The mall was wired for surveillance, but Maya's equipment captured the moments in between the sighs, the glances, the off-the-record threats that never made it into reports. She wasn't there to provoke. She was there to reveal. The day of the jewelry store wasn't planned. Maya had already logged 3 passes through different wings of the mall that week. Verley Jewelry was one of the last places she hadn't entered. It was high-end, selective, and known to escort out customers they deemed out of place. She entered as she always did, soft steps, neutral expression. She greeted the clerk, asked about birthstone sets, and leaned in to examine a sapphire bracelet. Everything about her body language was careful, non-invasive. She gave no reason for concern, but she didn't need to. Outside, Brandon was stationed near the fountain. He glanced up, saw her through the glass, and that was enough. He tapped his radio. The words were vague but loaded: black female. Verley. Possible casing. That was all it took. Seconds later, the door chimed. Maya looked up, already knowing what was coming. Brandon's walk was stiff, urgent, too fast for someone casually entering a store. His eyes were hard. His hand hovered near his belt. Maya didn't move. Her heartbeat stayed steady. The earrings were recording. The watch on her wrist vibrated once signal received, live stream active. Then came the moment. His voice cut through the quiet hum of the store. Step back. Hands where I can see them. The clerk froze. A customer near the exit slowly stepped out. The air felt thinner. Maya lifted her hand slightly, but didn't retreat. "Excuse me," she asked, soft but audible. Brandon's voice rose. "Now, don't make me repeat myself." And then he pulled at his service weapon, pointed straight at her chest, in full view of cameras and witnesses. That was the moment the story changed, not for her, but for him. The moment Brandon pulled his weapon, something irreversible cracked through the air. Not just the silence of the store or the nerves of the people watching, but the fragile illusion of authority cloaked in control. Maya didn't blink. The gun didn't scare her. What scared her was how easily he did it. No hesitation, no threat, just assumption, turned lethal. She could have ended it right there, revealed her badge, called his name, dismantled him in front of everyone. But this wasn't about him losing his job. This was about exposing the system that let him feel so untouchable. So she did nothing, just breathed, raised her hands, and watched his face. Brandon's eyes flickered. He expected fear. Instead, he saw calculation. A moment later, a mall supervisor stepped in, alerted by a silent panic button. "Officer," the man said cautiously. "What's going on here?" Brandon's voice tightened. She was acting suspicious. But Maya hadn't moved. No merchandise touched. No bag. No sign of theft. The supervisor hesitated, glancing at her, then back to the drawn gun. "Maybe we could step outside." Brandon didn't lower his weapon until backup arrived 2 more officers, both unsure what they were responding to. Maya stood still through it all. Her voice didn't rise once, but her equipment had already done its job. From the moment the door chime rang, the entire interaction had been captured clear audio, wide-angle lens, live-streamed and time-stamped into the Bureau's encrypted database. By the time Brandon holstered his gun, the FBI already had the footage. Brandon filed a report. It was vague, full of familiar phrases, non-compliance, erratic behavior, perceived threat. The manager's statement conflicted with his. So did the security footage, what little of it hadn't conveniently glitched. But Maya had the unfiltered truth. She submitted the full video to the Bureau with detailed notes. And quietly, the system activated. Internal Affairs opened a preliminary review. Brandon didn't know. Not yet. But he would. Back on duty, Brandon felt something shift. His partner avoided eye contact. A few words stopped when he walked into rooms. He brushed it off. Then he got the call, mandatory administrative leave, pending investigation. He swore, slammed his locker, paced the parking lot for an hour. His instinct said someone inside was leaking. His gut turned, and his mind landed on one name, Lena Porter. He started watching her. From a distance at first, then not so much. One evening, he followed her out of the mall. She noticed, didn't flinch, just turned and said, "You need something." "Officer," his face hardened. "Just making sure you're not casing anything else." Her voice didn't waver. "You already got what you needed. You just don't know it yet." Brandon wasn't the only one getting nervous. Inside the department, 2 officers Maya had quietly logged in previous incidents began to feel pressure. One of them, Officer Ray Moreno, a rookie with a conscience, reached out. He didn't say much at first, just asked if Lena knew anyone in Internal Affairs. Maya didn't confirm or deny. She just listened. Ray had seen things, the planted suspicion, the unnecessary force, the cold silence after. He was tired of it. He wanted out. Maya told him, carefully, "If you talk, there's no going back." He replied, "There's no going forward if I don't." Ray gave her access to internal reports, unredacted, unfiltered. Maya matched them with her own recordings. Patterns emerged. 12 officers, 17 incidents, all within the past 8 months, all buried, all protected. The mall wasn't an exception. It was a training ground. Brandon noticed he was being watched more closely now. His supervisor called him in twice in 1 week. He was told to ease up on patrol discretion. He didn't understand why things felt different. It wasn't just Lena anymore. It was something else, a pressure he couldn't name. The system that had always shielded him was suddenly turning cautious, and that made him dangerous. Maya met with the Bureau's oversight team. She laid it out: video footage, internal records, testimony, patterns of racial targeting disguised as routine policing. They were stunned not by what she found, but by how deep it ran, and still, Maya asked for more time. "This isn't about one officer," she said. "It's the water they're swimming in." The Bureau agreed. They prepared for a public reveal, but on Maya's terms. No press leaks, no early indictments. Let them feel safe a little longer. Let them keep thinking the silence was still working. Then came the final thread. Ray Moreno handed Maya a phone recording taken during a late shift in the locker room. Brandon's voice, recorded without his knowledge, was clear and venomous. "All I need is a reason. You give me a look. You give me an attitude, I can drop you on the spot and still go home clean." That wasn't instinct. That was intent. And now it was evidence. The next day, Maya walked into Verley Jewelry one last time. Same blouse, same earrings, same smile. The clerk didn't flinch this time. "Back again?" she asked. Maya nodded. "Just wanted to see how it feels to be here without a gun in my face." And across the mall, Brandon saw her. He didn't approach, didn't move, just watched. Because now, for the first time, he felt what it was like to be observed, not suspected, not profiled, exposed. By the time Maya stepped into the Bureau's operations room to present her findings, the tone had already shifted. No longer was she just an undercover agent feeding intel from the field. She was now the architect of a case that reached far beyond a single mall or officer. Her file on Brandon Keltner wasn't a report. It was a mirror, held up to a system that had gotten too comfortable with not being seen. She played the footage first, the uncut video from Verley Jewelry. No voiceover, no dramatic edit, just the cold mechanics of how quickly someone's skin tone can become a threat. The room stayed silent as Brandon's voice barked commands, as his weapon came into frame, as Maya's calm resistance made the scene even more unbearable. A few agents looked away. Others scribbled notes. No one asked for clarification. Then she dropped the locker room recording. Brandon's voice, raw and cocky. "Give me a look. I can drop you and still go home clean." The sentence hung in the air longer than it took to say. The bureau director leaned back in his chair. "And you're sure this wasn't isolated?" Maya didn't blink. "We have 17 matching patterns, 12 officers, internal collusion, suppressed footage, false reporting, and community trauma that spans over a decade." She looked him in the eye. "This isn't about discipline. This is about doctrine." What followed wasn't instant headlines or handcuffs. It was paperwork layers of it. Internal affairs, Department of Justice, coordination with civil rights divisions. But behind closed doors, Brandon was already finished. They just hadn't told him yet. He found out during a surprise call-in. No badge, no gun, no goodbye. He tried to posture, asked for legal counsel, cited his years of service. But the evidence was no longer deniable. And worse, his department wasn't protecting him. Too many eyes now. Too many witnesses. The culture of silence had turned to survival. Still, Brandon wasn't ready to let go. He called Maya. She didn't answer. He waited outside her apartment one night. She didn't come home. When he finally saw her again, it wasn't in uniform or under arrest. It was at a closed-door disciplinary review hearing. He was in a chair. She was behind a glass wall. And the power he once had, the assumption, the threat, the unchecked authority was gone. The twist was never that Maya was FBI. That secret was meant to end eventually. The real twist was that the silence he relied on was never silence at all. It was evidence waiting for its moment. Maya didn't speak at the hearing until the end. When the panel asked if she had anything to say, she stood up, walked to the edge of the room, and spoke without anger. "You drew your gun not because of what I did, but because of what you thought I was. You called it instinct. I call it inheritance. And every time someone lets that slide, it becomes part of the system, not the exception." She paused, then turned toward Brandon. "This isn't just about you, but today it has to start with you." He didn't respond, just stared down at the table, jaw tight, fingers curled. No outburst, no apology. Just the dawning realization that the room wasn't bending for him anymore. Maya's report didn't end with a list of names. It ended with a blueprint. A policy overhaul was drafted. An external review board was installed. Officers were retrained, some removed. The mall renewed its security contracts under federal oversight. Verley Jewelry installed their own internal anti-profiling training. Small shifts, but real ones. Outside the system, the video went viral. The footage of Brandon pulling his gun in a luxury store with no cause spread across platforms in hours. But what resonated wasn't just the violence, it was Maya's quiet, her calm, her control. She hadn't shouted. She hadn't fought. She had made the system convict itself. People asked why she didn't scream, why she didn't defend herself louder. She answered in one interview. "If I screamed, they'd say I was aggressive. If I ran, they'd say I was guilty. If I stayed calm, they still pulled a gun. So I chose the version that gave me evidence, not excuses." Months later, Maya stood in front of a lecture hall filled with young law students. She wasn't wearing a badge. There was no title card behind her, no case number, just a simple projector displaying one still image, Brandon's gun, midair, caught in the frame of her hidden camera. She let the silence stretch. Not dramatic, just real. Then she spoke. "We teach people to trust the system. We don't always tell them that systems are made of people, and people have instincts, biases, fears. You can pass all the background checks in the world and still carry inherited suspicion like it's part of the uniform." The students were still, eyes fixed. No one scrolled. No one whispered. Maya continued. "I didn't join the FBI to lock people up. I joined because I wanted to document truth before someone could rewrite it. I didn't speak in that store because I needed the world to hear what he said, not what I said back. My silence was a camera. My patience was a weapon. And my calm, that was survival." She closed her laptop, picked up a folder, and paused. Justice doesn't always sound like a gavel. Sometimes, it sounds like your own breath staying slow while someone points a gun at your chest. Because the second you panic, they own the story. After the talk, one student approached her. Young, nervous, black. He asked, "Would you do it again?" Maya didn't answer right away. She looked down the hallway. where a security guard stood watching the room. Then back at the student. "I'd do it differently," she said. "But yes, because every time I didn't, someone else would have to. Brandon didn't serve time. He lost his pension. His record was sealed under departmental review. But he never got another badge. The last time Maya saw him was in passing outside a courthouse, him in civilian clothes, her walking out with a folder under her arm. He glanced at her. She met his eyes. No hate, no pride, just a truth exchanged in silence. His mouth opened like he might say something, then closed. That was enough. The story went on to shape policy, shape training, shape thought. Not headlines, not outrage, just quiet momentum that didn't fade. Because Maya understood something: the real victory isn't in the courtroom. It's in the shift people carry into their next decision. The moment they stop assuming. The moment they pause. So when people asked her how it felt to be part of something historic, she always said the same thing. "I wasn't trying to make history. I was trying to make sure someone else could have a future."